There comes a quiet moment in life, often sometime after 70, when we look in the mirror not to judge but to wonder. We pause, not because we've lost ourselves, but because something in our reflection has changed. Not just the face or the hair, or the lines of time, but something more subtle, a shift in how we carry ourselves, how we're perceived by others, and perhaps how we feel within. And though no one may have said it out loud, there's a lingering question that often rises. Have I started looking older than I feel inside? In this video, we'll walk gently together through 5 everyday habits that may be quietly making you appear older, less vibrant, or less connected. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because life, in its slow rhythm, sometimes takes us away from ourselves. These aren't harsh critiques or impossible fixes. They're soft, practical reminders that we can still choose how we show up. In our grooming, our voice, our presence, our posture, and the way we engage with those around us. So if any part of you has ever felt invisible, less seen, or quietly disconnected, I invite you to stay. If this message speaks to you, type "still growing" in the comments and feel free to share a story or moment of your own. What comes next isn't about chasing youth. It's about reconnecting with the dignity, strength, and clarity you already carry. Let's begin with something simple, yet deeply personal. Sometimes the most visible shifts aren't dramatic at all. They come quietly, showing up in small daily habits we no longer pay attention to. And over time, those little things begin to say something louder than we ever intended. Personal grooming isn't about looking good for others. It's about looking in the mirror and remembering that you still matter. And while it might sound like a small thing, skipping a shave, wearing the same sweater a few too many days, letting our nails or hair go unattended, it can slowly shape how we see ourselves and how others respond to us. Many older adults, especially those living alone or no longer working, find themselves slipping into a quieter rhythm of life. And in that silence, routines begin to fade. The morning shave becomes "not today." The closet full of nice clothes is passed over for the same familiar sweatshirt. And gradually, the reflection in the mirror starts to feel distant, less like who we are and more like someone fading into the background. But here's the truth. Neglecting grooming isn't laziness. Often it's a subtle sign of something deeper, maybe loneliness, maybe fatigue, maybe simply forgetting that we are still seen. Because even if the world around us has changed, even if we feel less visible than we once were, our presence still speaks. And grooming is one way we communicate that presence, first to ourselves, then to the world. When we take time to care for our appearance, something quiet but powerful happens. We stand a little taller. We feel a little more alert. Others meet us with different eyes. A fresh haircut, a clean outfit, a little lip balm or face moisturizer, these are not acts of vanity. They're acts of dignity. If this sounds familiar, know that it's never too late to reclaim the care you give yourself. Start small. Keep a go-to grooming station where it's easy to reach, next to the coffee pot near your favorite. Reading chair by the bathroom sink. A handheld mirror, a trimmer or razor, a gentle face cloth and a soft scented lotion can become part of a meaningful morning ritual. And for those who wear facial hair, keeping it neat sends a message. I'm still showing up. I still care. And don't overlook your clothes. You don't need to follow fashion. But you do deserve to wear clothes that feel good, fit well, and reflect the vitality you still carry. Well-fitted clothes in fresh, breathable fabrics, not too tight, not too loose, can make you look more alive, and more importantly, help you feel more alive. In a world where aging can feel like disappearing, grooming is how we reappear, quietly, gracefully, with self-respect intact. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're reminding yourself that you still belong here. And that alone can change everything. Sometimes we don't realize how much the way we speak shapes how others feel around us, until a moment of silence tells us more than words ever could. As we continue exploring the subtle habits that may be making us appear older than we are, we come to one that's rarely addressed openly: how we communicate. Many older adults begin speaking more loudly over time, not out of rudeness or intent to dominate, but because of something far simpler: gradual hearing loss. This change creeps in so gently that most people don't notice it, until they begin sensing that conversations feel different, that others withdraw a little. People seem hesitant to engage in deeper, longer exchanges. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. I've seen it happen with dear friends, gentle souls who simply wanted to stay part of the conversation, but didn't realize their tone or timing had shifted. Maybe they started interrupting without meaning to. Maybe their voice became more forceful, trying to cut through the background noise, not realizing they were overwhelming the room instead. The truth is, in our youth, we often felt we had to speak louder to be heard. But as we age, the real strength often lies in speaking with calm presence and listening with patience. And here's something important. Most people won't tell you you're doing this. They'll just adapt by pulling back, ending conversations earlier, or simply drifting away. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to say, "You're a little too much right now." That's why awareness is power, and the fix is not complex. It's entirely doable. First, pay attention to how others react. During your conversations, if you notice people leaning away slightly, lowering their voices, or not finishing their thoughts, consider it a gentle signal. You might want to adjust your volume, slow your pace, and offer more space between sentences. Conversation is not a race, it's a rhythm, a dance, not a duel. It may also be time to schedule a simple hearing test. Many Medicare Advantage plans cover annual screenings, and even minor hearing aids can make a major difference. It's not about shame, it's about staying connected in a way that feels mutual and respectful. You could also try using subtitles while watching TV or movies, rather than raising the volume, which subconsciously conditions us to speak louder. At home, take a moment each day to practice speaking in a quieter room. Breathe before you answer. Let silence be part of your presence. You'll be amazed how it draws people closer, not away. In a world that often moves too fast and talks too much, the person who speaks with warmth and listens with intent becomes someone others gravitate toward. And no matter your age, that kind of presence is timeless. Let's gently turn our attention now to something we often overlook because it feels so familiar: the clothes we wear every day. We might not think much of them anymore, but they speak on our behalf long before we ever say a word. Clothing, especially as we age, becomes more than fabric. It becomes a reflection of how we feel inside. And when those clothes become outdated, overly worn, or no longer fit the way they used to, they can quietly send a message we never meant to share, not just to others, but to ourselves. Perhaps over the years, you found comfort in certain outfits, a cozy cardigan, the same pair of loose pants you've had for a decade. They're easy to reach for, familiar, and maybe even a little symbolic of simpler times, but comfort, while important, doesn't have to come at the cost of presence. And there is a difference between comfort and neglect. Many older adults express feeling invisible in public spaces, even when surrounded by others. But the way we dress can help shift that feeling. When we wear clothes that fit well and look intentional, not trendy but thoughtful, we remind the world and ourselves that we still belong in the room, that we still carry purpose, dignity, and attention to detail. A soft, well-fitted button-up shirt, a pair of pants that rest just right on your hips, a light scarf in a color that complements your skin. These aren't about dressing young. They're about dressing alive. They tell people, "I showed up, I still take pride in myself." And the truth is, when we make the effort to update even a few pieces in our wardrobe, something shifts inside. Our posture changes, our mood lifts. People offer compliments not just on our looks, but on our energy. If shopping feels overwhelming, start with one piece. Replace the shoes you've worn thin with a comfortable pair that supports your steps. Choose a new outer layer, a cardigan, a light jacket, something neutral that pairs easily. Ask for help if you're unsure. Many store associates, especially in senior-friendly retailers, are happy to guide you to styles that are flattering and easy to maintain. And don't forget, color. As we age, our skin tones shift, and the colors that once flattered us may not have the same effect. Try on a few shades near your face. A soft blue, a gentle olive, or even a rich burgundy can bring warmth back to your features. Remember, your clothing is part of your story. It's how you introduce yourself without speaking. By choosing pieces that feel intentional, comfortable, and clean, you quietly communicate that you're still engaged in the world and still showing up for yourself. Aging gracefully isn't about chasing youth. It's about wearing who you are with clarity, care, and quiet confidence. And what you wear can either hide you or help you be seen again. As we move forward, let's pause and gently look inward. Not at how we appear, but at how we speak. And more importantly, how our words make others feel when they're near us. One of the most common yet unspoken habits that tend to push people away as we grow older is the tendency to complain or criticize too often. It doesn't come from a bad place. In fact, most of the time it comes from experience, from having lived through enough to recognize what's changed, and not always for the better. But when that recognition turns into a pattern of negative talk, even when it feels like truth-telling, it can leave others feeling emotionally drained. I've seen this happen many times. A kind, thoughtful person who begins most conversations with a list: what hurts today, what's wrong with the news, what the younger generation isn't doing right, how things used to be better. At first, people listen out of respect, but slowly they stop responding with the same energy. Conversations grow shorter, visits become less frequent, and the room, once filled with life, feels quieter than it should. Here's the deeper truth. People aren't rejecting the person. They're recoiling from the heaviness of the energy. Negativity, even subtle, accumulates. It lingers in the air, makes others tighten up, and signals that connection might come with emotional cost. And most people, especially family or friends who are already carrying their own weight, begin to protect themselves from that. But this doesn't mean you need to fake positivity or pretend that everything is fine. Not at all. What it means is that you hold the power to shape your presence, to shift conversations toward balance, curiosity, and warmth, even when you're sharing something difficult. One way to do this is through awareness. Catch yourself mid-thought. Ask, is this something that uplifts or connects us? If it's a concern, try to pair it with a story, a question, or a reflection that invites dialogue. Instead of, people today are so rude, perhaps say, I noticed something today that made me miss the old ways. Do you ever feel that too? This approach softens the edge. It turns criticism into conversation. It reminds others that your wisdom comes with heart, not just opinion. Another gentle practice is to start each day, or each gathering, with something you're grateful for or curious about. A memory, a piece of music, a photo that made you smile. When others associate you with lightness and reflection, rather than constant complaints, they're drawn to your presence. They lean in. They remember you not just as wise, but as emotionally generous. The goal isn't to be someone you're not. It's to stay emotionally connected, because your words carry weight, and when they're used to lift instead of weigh down, they can do so much more than fill silence. They can fill the space with something people long to return to. As we near the final part of this journey together, let's turn our attention to something that doesn't require words, yet speaks volumes about how we feel: posture and body language. This is one of the quietest habits that can make us appear older than we are, even when we still carry strength and clarity within. It's easy to overlook posture. After all, most of us don't think about how we stand or move throughout the day. But over time, the way we carry ourselves becomes a signal to the world, a reflection of how we see ourselves and how we expect others to see us. For many older adults, especially those experiencing stiffness, joint pain, or reduced mobility, posture can begin to shift naturally. We start to lean forward slightly, our shoulders round, our steps become slower or more guarded. And while these changes are often subtle, they can unintentionally communicate fragility, detachment, or low energy, even when we still feel fully present inside. And the world responds. People may speak to us more slowly, offer help when we haven't asked, or assume we are tired, disconnected, or even less capable. It's not out of disrespect. It's a reaction to what our body is silently expressing. But here's the empowering truth. Posture is not just a physical habit. It's a choice, and a deeply symbolic one. Standing tall, making gentle eye contact, walking with intention, these aren't about pretending to be young. They're about staying rooted in your dignity, about silently telling the world, I'm still here, I'm still strong, I still have something to offer. And you don't need a complicated routine to begin. Start each morning by standing against a wall for 60 seconds, heels, back, and head aligned. This gentle reminder helps you reset your body's natural posture. When walking, imagine a thread pulling you upward from the crown of your head, inviting you to lift without tension. Take full steps, avoid shuffling when possible, and move with awareness. If you sit for long periods, especially while reading or watching TV, pause every so often to roll your shoulders back, lift your chest gently, and breathe deep into your lower belly. These small actions may seem simple, but over time they create a presence that is calm, upright, and undeniably alive. In conversation, try not to cross your arms, keep your hands visible and relaxed. Face people directly, meet their eyes with softness, and allow your gestures to match your words. These subtle shifts invite trust, closeness, and respect. You are not defined by your age, but by the energy you bring into a space. And posture, more than anything, reflects your sense of self-worth and inner power. You've walked many paths to get here. Now let every step you take tell the world, you're not fading, you're still leading, still living, and still deeply here. As we close this gentle conversation, I hope you're walking away with more than just awareness. I hope you're walking away with a renewed sense of power. Because aging doesn't mean fading, it means refining. It means becoming even more intentional with the way we show up, in our grooming, our voice, our posture, our clothing, and our energy. The 5 habits we explored today are not signs of failure. They're simply small reminders that we've lived long enough to accumulate patterns, and now we have the wisdom to reshape them. Whether it's trimming your nails, softening your tone in conversation, choosing a shirt that fits well, balancing your words with warmth, or walking a little taller, every choice you make is a statement. And that statement is, I'm still here, I still matter. You don't need to chase youth. You need to care for the presence you already carry. If today's reflection sparked something in you, a memory, a realization, a habit you're ready to shift, I invite you to share it in the comments. Your story might be the very thing someone else needs to hear. Together we create not just conversation but community, rooted in elder wisdom and the quiet power of self-respect. And remember, you are not invisible. You are vital, and you still have so much light left to share.